Chapter 28, Midnight Vigil. Sue had lost all sense of time in her windowless cell, a prison designed to look like a dated high-end hotel room, but one with no clock on the wall nor sunlight creeping through large windows. Only the crappy meals marked the passage of time. The scrape of metal on bare tile echoed through her room as a tray slid through the slot at the bottom of the solid steel door. Dinner time, or what passed for it in the colony. She approached it with all the enthusiasm of someone walking the last mile. The tray's contents turned her stomach before she picked up the fork. A pile of gray-green slop looked like someone had already eaten it and puked it back onto the plate. It reeked, smelling of a mixture of rotting vegetables and something chemical. She poked at it with her fork, watching it jiggle. Not the way food should behave. How the hell had they made fresh vegetables look like vomit? It took skill to ruin food like this. An anti-chef. Gordon Ramsay would crucify them. Sue forced herself to take a bite, knowing she'd need to maintain her energy to escape. Her gag reflex took over as the lukewarm mixture hit her tongue. Did everyone in the colony eat this garbage? Or had they saved the worst slop for the prisoners? No matter how she labeled the situation, she'd become a prisoner of war in a conflict she didn't understand. She longed for her old life, even though it seemed boring. The apocalypse had changed her world. One day she wrote code at a video game company. Then she found herself trying to survive in a world without power, without rules, without hope. She had hoped that this time would be different. But these people locked her away without a trial or a crime. Another miscarriage of justice. A few hours after she choked down the meal and shoved the tray back through the slot, the harsh overhead fluorescent lights cut out. Her heart skipped a beat in the dark. Total darkness would drive her insane. Before she could scream, a dim light in the bathroom flicked on. A glowing nightlight. At least they weren't complete monsters. Or they had something else in mind for her. 10 p.m., if Kat had told the truth. She lay on the firm bed, staring at the ceiling. Shadows danced in the dim light. Somewhere out there, Ulysses' friends planned her rescue. Corsair and Kat had promised they'd come for her tonight. A daring nighttime rescue. Hope and dread fought inside her. How had she gotten caught up in this superhero stuff? Ulysses filled that role. She wrote code and designed video game mechanics. The most dangerous activity she'd done before the EMP had been crossing the street. People drove like maniacs. Now they expected her to escape from an underground military facility. She didn't even know where she was anymore. The whole thing felt like a bad action movie. Her eyelids grew heavy despite her determination to remain awake. Sue jerked herself back to consciousness 3 times, each time thinking she heard footsteps in the hallway. An impossible task with the thick steel door separating her from freedom. Each time she held her breath, straining to listen. But she heard only the faint hum of the air conditioning. Time crawled by. Impossible to tell whether hours or only minutes had passed. Her body demanded sleep while her mind raced through various escape scenarios. Did someone catch Corsair and Kat? Had their visit been some elaborate test? Exhaustion overtook her. The last thing she remembered was trying to remain awake, ready to run once they showed up. But then, nothing. A deep, dreamless sleep pulled her under like a riptide. The light snapped on at maximum brightness, shining through the cracks in her eyelids. John Denver's voice exploded from hidden speakers, wailing about country roads in West Virginia. Sue shot up from the bed, her heart hammering against her ribs. It felt like John Denver stood next to her, screaming into her ear. She sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing her eyes. Her brain struggled to catch up. The colony. Her prison cell. Rescuers that never came. The music cut out mid-verse, leaving a silence worse than the noise that had woke her. Her ears rang. Morning had arrived, but Corsair and Kat hadn't. No midnight rescue. No escape. Stuck in her concrete box for another day. Her imagination supplied dark possibilities of what had gone wrong. She needed answers she had no way of getting. Before she left yesterday, Kat had mentioned something about Sue getting a work assignment today. Her new job might give her a chance to find out what happened. She could track down Corsair, demanding answers from him. Sue forced herself through a lukewarm shower, changing into clean clothes. Another white t-shirt and a pair of gray sweatpants. The colony's prison uniform. After completing her morning ritual, she sat at the small dining table, waiting for someone to come. The breakfast tray arrived as the dinner tray had the night before. 1 egg, overcooked until the yolk turned gray and chalky. A lump of beige gruel, which might have been oatmeal in a previous life. Green mold claimed one corner of a single piece of toast. Her glass of orange juice smelled like it had gone off days ago. She cut the moldy corner off the toast with the dull plastic knife they provided. Her body needed fuel, so she forced herself to eat the rest. Another chance to escape couldn't be far off. The food sat in her stomach like a rock. Sue slid the empty tray back through the slot, returning to the uncomfortable chair by the table. She waited, but nobody came. No work assignment, no guards, no explanation. Only silence under the glaring fluorescent lights. Time became meaningless the longer she sat. She tried counting seconds, losing track around 3,000. Attempted to do push-ups, managing 20 before her arms gave out. Paced the room, wearing a groove in the floor. Collapsed back in the chair, running out of ideas on how to pass the time. Another tray slid under the door. Lunch. 2 thick slices of stale bread with a single mealy tomato sliced between them. No condiments, no seasoning, nothing to drink. A tomato sandwich made by a sadist. She ate the crappy sandwich anyway, returning the tray. Back to waiting. Each passing minute felt like an hour. Where had everyone gone? The same gray-green slop from the night before arrived on the dinner tray. It seemed somehow even less appetizing. Tonight the vegetables had taken on an almost fluorescent quality, like someone left them under a heat lamp too long. They reeked. She forced down each spoonful, treating it like medicine. Sue had eaten worse since the EMP attack. Things had to get better soon. Her mind wandered to better times as her dinner sat in her stomach like a brick. A weekend at Lake George with Derek, her high school boyfriend, who'd grown into a handsome but vapid man. She'd broken up with him after that trip, tired of his shallow conversations and constant need for attention. But right now she'd give anything to be back at that lake, even if it meant listening to Derek drone on about his CrossFit routine for hours. Freedom. She'd taken it for granted before. She longed to walk outside whenever she wanted, to choose what to eat, to decide how to spend her time. All of it gone now, replaced by confinement and spoiled scraps of food. The lights clicked off. 10 p.m. Another day gone. Would someone come for her tonight? Sue crawled into bed, falling into a deep sleep. Another day and the pattern repeated. Lights, John Denver, breakfast, waiting, lunch, more waiting, dinner, darkness, sleep. Day 3 was identical to the previous one, but now she understood they played Country Roads every morning as part of their psychological warfare. The words of that song burned into her brain as a permanent reminder of this horrible place. John Denver's voice would cause her to flinch forevermore. Sue spoke out loud to herself just to hear her voice. She told stories about her childhood, recited movie quotes, tried to remember the lyrics to songs that weren't Country Roads. Anything to fill the silence. The isolation would kill her. Day 4 started the same. Bright lights, blasting music, disgusting slop. Everything changed as she chewed her 5th bite of the morning's offering. The door exploded open, slamming against the wall with a bang. 2 soldiers rushed in, grabbing her arms. Strong hands yanked her out of the chair. A fist drove into her stomach, forcing the air from her lungs in a painful wheeze. She tried to double over from the pain, but they held her fast, keeping her upright. Stars danced in her vision as she fought to breathe. When she thought she might pass out, a 3rd figure entered the room. The Major. She'd only met him once before, when they first brought her to the colony. That meeting hadn't gone well either. "Gentlemen," he said. His voice carried a note of disappointment. "I told you not to hurt her. She's important to the cause." "Sorry, sir." The soldier who punched her didn't sound sorry at all. She heard the smirk in his voice. Sue wanted to spit in his face. She wanted to fight back, but her stomach still screamed from the punch, and she couldn't breathe, let alone fight. She needed Ulysses. The giant could break these thugs like twigs in a storm. Since he hadn't returned yet, he might be dead. The major pulled out the other chair, sitting down across from her, studying her with cold eyes. Put her in the chair and then get out. Sir? The soldier who punched her sounded confused. That's an order, soldier, not a request. This conversation is above your clearance level. The two men exchanged glances but followed orders, shoving Sue into the chair before leaving. She pinwheeled her arms to keep the chair from tipping over. The major waited until their footsteps faded down the hallway before speaking again. I apologize for those brutes, Sue. They get enthusiastic sometimes. He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers like a villain in a cheesy action flick. I had hoped to have Lucas back by now, but the captain has failed to deliver. Disappointing. I expected Ulysses to live longer than this. Sue's mind raced. Had Ulysses died? Is that why he hadn't returned for her? What about Corsair and Cat? How did Lucas, the crazy conspiracy theorist, fit into any of this? Too many questions with no answers. Lucas spoke highly of you. He said only you could help him. So in his absence, you'll have to do. The major grinned. Sue shook her head, shrugging her shoulders. Wait, I barely knew Lucas. We met only one time. He spent most of the time ranting about government conspiracies and... You foolish girl. Do you really think meeting Lucas and his big ape Ulysses was a coincidence? He was responsible for what happened. The government forced him to shut everything down, and now only he knows how to turn it back on. Well, him, and apparently you. You're insane. I worked at a video game company, designing quest change and debugging code. I have no clue about EMPs, power grids, or... Lucas says otherwise. He says you're the key to turning the power back on. The major stood, straightening his uniform. Since Lucas is MIA, you'll have to figure it out yourself. What am I supposed to figure out? How to restore the power. Selectively, of course. Only to the areas and systems I designate. His lips curved into a sneer. I'm confident you'll work it out. You're motivated, after all. And what happens if I can't? Then you'll die, and the power will stay off. Your success means you remain among the living. He stood, heading toward the door. Before he reached it, he paused, turning back to her. Don't think about trying anything clever. The bunker is guarded, and the systems are monitored. Besides, there's nobody to send any messages to. Your only option is to do what I tell you. His soldiers rushed to his side as he cleared the doorway. The major glared at him. Take her to the computer bunker. Be gentle with her. There better not be a scratch on her. For now. The threat dripped from his last two words. Her stomach churned as the soldiers flanked her. She'd been safe, locked away, but now she faced the unknown. How would she save herself when she knew nothing about this disaster?